Okay, welcome to the Winning Teams interview, Imran. Thank you so much, my friend, for coming and sharing your stories with us. As you know, we are really interested to hear about your experiences. You bring so rich experience across different industries, different types of challenges, I'm assuming, you had, and ways to overcome those challenges to bring these human skills into life in a most impactful way possible. I've heard some of those stories before, very, high level, and this is really the opportunity to hear more and not just, in one specific context, one specific case. If you would like to share with us, examples, things that you feel people, would want to know about, really bring it to life, how those skills, leadership skills, human skills, other skills that come into the play and really make the difference. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Very touched with the work you're doing, especially when you are talking about human skills in this age of artificial intelligence. It brings me close to my purpose, what I'm working on and what I have learned over the course of 20 years. So thank you for that.
Amazing. Thank you so much. First of all, for the audience here, to hear a little bit about what do you do today, what brings you to MIT Sloan, to this program. If you would like to share, and then we will take it from there.
I usually tell it in form of a story. I have lived in 5 different continents. I'm at 20 plus years in oil and gas industry, been in very difficult environments, tried to make sure that we make impact in the life of people. And as I grew in my career with Halliburton and Shell, I think at one point in time, you want to step back and reinvent yourself. And that's what I'm trying to do with MIT. I'm stepping back and reinventing myself, because leadership is a skill that you can always keep on improving on. And that's what I'm here for.
Amazing. So we are here to hear all this insightful stories about winning teams. Let's start with one winning team that you would like to share stories about and how those human skills came into the play for winning, but also overcoming challenges. As we know, it's sometimes, you operate in complex environments, and it's not just about such a straightforward winning path. So please, it will be great to hear about what was that winning team. What is this winning team that you would like to focus on?
So you have put me into a very difficult situation. It's like, a father is trying to pick one of their child to highlight at this instance. But I think there is one story that touches my heart, and that is basically something that you are working on. It was in 2011. We were trying to enter a country in Southeast Asia, and we had not been there for a significant amount of time. And the challenge was to build the team for zero, but at the same time be able to articulate to our customer on how are we going to be different from others. And as you're talking about leadership, one of the most important things that I believe is important in leadership is being able to connect. Both connect with your team and be able to connect with your customer. So the things that we did early on, we understood the need of the customer was someone who would be able to speak their language and be able to understand them. So investing early on in the human capital that was from that country was a lot helpful for us. Now again, when you're in Southeast Asia, people work very differently. Their reactions to different parts is pretty different. So you need to understand the human aspect of the places you live in to understand how to interact with those people. So let me give you an example. In Southeast Asia, if you ask someone that we need to do something, they will always nod their head, means that yes, we will do it. Now, would they be able to do it, or do they have the capacity to do it? They do not want to say no, because it is considered something to be pretty bad. So being able to win in such an environment is to be able to connect with these people, understand their culture, understand their mentality. And for that, you need to really step down from a leader to being a peer and being able to guide them. So we were able to step down and be able to work with these people and really understand at a level, what is their need, that what would make them successful. Similarly, we did the same with customers. So getting it all together and being able to work with customer at their level so that they're happy in understanding that this is what exactly we want and this is exactly what these people are going to deliver, that really moved the place for us. Internally, as we were building up the team, it was very important to focus on the mission. Our mission was to use as much of local content as possible to deliver all the work. And I think that resonated with people because people always thought, why are they bringing expat people to do something which we would be able to do? So the measure of success was, would you be able to deliver this work or not? And when that becomes the mode of the inspiration, people go out of their way to make that successful. So ultimately, we were able to win the contract. We employed more than 200 people locally. We were able to establish a business that is still working. Anytime I pick up phone and talk to all those people, some of them at a very high ranks in my previous companies, and some in different avenues they're still reiterating those stories, how we were able to form the team because we really understood each other and we were able to take those learnings and put customer first and deliver that value.
So building relationships that last, really deep understanding of the cultural context, really essential.
When you talk about artificial intelligence, and I keep on hearing, artificial intelligence is going to take over jobs, I don't get bothered with that. You know why? Because this connection, artificial intelligence cannot do. In most of the parts in the world, business is done by relation and done by emotions. So relationship and emotions is what is very important for any kind of success, whether it is with your team, which means that you're internally, or with the customer.
Yeah, one of the key insights from one of our classes: start emotional, go rational, and end emotional. And this is the lasting, long-lasting kind of relationship you can build through this connection, the human connection, as opposed to just the technology, just the technical part of that. So can you speak a little bit to the different roles on the team and how those roles contribute to success, right? So there is a winning team, you're saying you won a contract, it was amazing. There are different roles on the teams and how those come together, right? There is this concept of working in harmony, creating certain capability that, together we are bigger than the parts, the separate parts of that team. So how this worked in terms of kind of a quality contribution from each of those different maybe functions or different roles on the team that made that team such a great success.
So two things. One, when you talk about team, everybody needs to understand their role, and that role has to be based on their strengths. And that's the most important thing when you are initially building the team. You have to drill it very deep into each individual, that what is the arena they're good at and where they need to contribute. Once you are able to articulate that clearly and you make them accountable and responsible for that, it becomes a free running system. Because in a team, you are not micromanaging. You're making people accountable and they have to deliver. That independence really helps each individual to raise their bar because they have to deliver and be accountable for that work. So it was, one of the big tasks was to understand the different strengths of the people. So first few people we picked up from university, they were quite young, but they had a very good skill of being able to mix with the customer. So initially we put them on customer-facing roles, and they were able to get a lot more information from those. We also hired some people who were a bit reserved but very brilliant in designing the jobs, very brilliant in executing the jobs. We put those people in designing and execution, and we helped with these people who were interacting with the customer build a bridge on exactly what is the customer expecting. I think that makes things a lot simpler when you are able to connect different strengths of people and different aspects of doing that business. Now, the other thing is there are certain people in the team who are naturally, leaders. They're able to bring that vibe in the team. You need to find those people because those are the people who are connectors. One such example is an example of Nazrul. He was one of our team members. Nazli had worked a lot in different countries. The passion he brought was to know how to bring this team together. So we would go out for coffees, etc. And during those times, we would talk about what each individual is doing and how they are contributing. So from that perspective, I feel bringing that team together, making sure that you understand their strengths and making sure that what they are good at, and then assigning the right responsibilities and roles brings the team to a point where they're focused on the results and deliver them.
So this is very interesting, like how basically people play different role just beyond their job description, right? They have something in their capability, in their ability to build human connection, the voice of the customer to bring it in, and then everybody else can benefit from it. But you need those people who make those connections. In your view, in your experience, is this something that can be developed, can be coached? Is this, like you said, young people who actually had that quality in them, just almost naturally, right? Is this something that is a nature versus nurture? But is this something you've seen real life examples where people start to become better and better in that? There is something that they experience. There is a coaching. There is something that helped them to be really to be the best of themselves, to build those skills over time. If you can speak to that, if you have any examples of that skill development.
Lot of examples, but let me first give you an example of myself. When I came out of the engineering college, I was a very reserved person. Very good technically, but I could not articulate myself. I could not present myself. I could not build a team. I was a individual contributor and could do a lot by contributing individually. I think as time progressed and I had the right mentors and the right teachers who were able to spend time with me and give me pointers on how to hone in each of my skills, I think I've seen a great development in myself. And I always believe that if you're a learner, you will be able to improve your skills. Now, let me give you an example of a girl who we hired from college and totally shy, not able to even talk. She was very good at writing the programs, getting things done, but she would not be able to stand with the customer. One fine day, we took her on a customer event, and she was very good at organizing stuff, putting everything together. And while she was doing so, customers started to ask her questions, and she was able to interact with them quite well. That is what we caught upon. It's like, hey, these are small things that really you stand apart and customers really believe that you can make contributions. We put her on the business development team. Within a short amount of time, by right coaching, she was able to interact, get out of her shell, be able to interact with customers. And this is a girl coming from Southeast Asia. She later put herself into the right decision-making paths, and she's running a business right now. I think the key here is right coaching, right training, and the right opportunity. Definitely can improve your leadership skills.
That's very interesting. First of all, thank you very much for sharing a little about yourself. We study here that self-awareness, first of all, putting the mirror in front of yourself and sharing your own experience is very essential. So I really appreciate that. Of course, the example of someone who is building those skills over time. It's really interesting maybe to learn from cases or case where you maybe have when people sometimes assume it's like winning teams, it's all stars, we come together, we just crush it, it's going to be amazing. But actually what research shows is that the team needs certain challenges to overcome. The team needs certain cases where there is a disagreement, how we resolve the disagreement, how we grow from that, as opposed to happy path, it's going to be amazing. If you had some of those experiences, right, when there were some disagreements, there is this concept of disagree but commit, but it's very easy to say, very difficult to implement. Sometimes people, it's disagree by commit, and commit, but the commitment is very, questionable if people actually, what you carry with, even if you had a, you committed to this, but still you kind of say, yes, but I had such a different point of view, and nobody really was open to hear, nobody was open really to dig a little deeper, and okay, we will go with that. But that can be difficult. Some so-called winning teams can struggle with that, and they will not necessarily achieve the goal that the team had in front of them. If you can share any, maybe case when you guys, so you say the team was great, and maybe this team or another team, when you had this case where there was a true disagreement on something, and then there was a certain path, certain thread, certain essential conditions that helped to really build the team stronger out of that experience.
So you bring up a very good point. And over the course of last 20 years, there were teams where I literally struggled because those conditions occurred when the disagreement happened and we could not carry on, and big rifts happened. But as I have come through the leadership trainings, engagements with people, I think one of the biggest learnings that I have seen is if you really want to make a team successful, you have to set the expectation that there is going to be what is called positive traction. Mm-hmm. What positive traction means that in a team, you should be able to challenge each other and be able to be comfortable with that. And if you do not set that expectations ahead in any of the team, what happens is the ego comes first. Mm-hmm. And at that point in time, you derail whole of the system. But if you set the expectations that, hey, as we go through this process, we may differ in opinion, we may be able to challenge you, and that's going to be in a positive light, then the acceptance becomes much more possible. It takes time, taking the team out, having those offsites, being able to have coffee with each other, being able to laugh about each other's joke, I think is very important. But if you do not set the expectations, just going out for a coffee, just going out for an offsite does not really help. That expectation that you are going to be challenged and you need to be respectful with it comes with time. And I think one of the big learnings that I have had in my life, and which I'm even applying here at MIT, the first thing you do is build a team charter and try to explain to each member that this is how I communicate, this is what my expectations are, my voice is loud, or I'm too calm, I don't even react to some of the situations. As long as you tell the team how you are communicating and you set the expectations, I think it brings a pretty good and cohesive functioning team together to deliver on a common result. Now, when you have agreement, you as a leader or you as a person of a team should be accountable enough to know when do I step back and disagree to commit. And the other people should be mature enough to understand there is a disagreement, but there is a commitment. Does it always happen? Disagreement and commitment follow together? Does not, but that's the part of the leadership. That is what you keep on learning, and that's where we become an important agent in a team meeting to document those things, to hold people accountable for that, and over time it becomes a habit.
Yeah, so expectation management, upfront, charter, so there are certain practices that can help with that. There is no magic culture recipe, right? But this helps. Like there are certain things that can help with that, and you can become better and better, and that, especially if you lead by example, like you were saying, you're willing to adapt. I'm curious to hear about other certain like leadership skills, certain capabilities, such as leading with creativity, with the innovation. Sometimes companies very successful, and for a certain time it works well, and there is a disruption coming from it, like from nowhere. What's happening to we used to be the leader in the segment, and lots of times we can see we heard examples Xerox and others, basically that we had an amazing R&D. We've done I'm sure Shell and other companies, but how you bring this to life, right? How you basically go beyond the conventions. This works for us. That's that's good. But the question, like, how we can actually bring innovation, original ideas into the play, that not just for like on paper, kind of, right? Really into life. If you had any of those examples, how those creativity, innovation comes into the play. MIT Sloan, we are saying, principled, innovative, right? So how innovation comes with those principled approaches that really make the difference for companies from your experience.
This is a very challenging question. Being in bigger corporates presents its challenges because you're trying to move a big ship. And it requires a lot of skills, which we read in Roberto Fernandez's class, is being able to find the right stakeholders and being able to work with them and make any change part of their mandate rather than it being your mandate. I think making a change is always difficult, especially when you're trying to be creative. You have to understand the ground realities and you have to understand the culture. If you do not understand the culture, any innovation you bring will be stalled. Am I perfect in it? No. Am I learning to do it better? I'm trying my level best. But I think what I have seen over the course of my experience is if you know the culture and if you know how to make your stakeholders be your people to run that project, it makes a lot of difference. I think right now is the best time to do those experiments because every company is being challenged on how can they be different and how can they make bigger strides because there is a lot of disruption coming in the industry. I think if we are able to pick those ideas and be able to hone it on and make it to ride on the already expectations from the company to increase efficiencies, to deliver value to customers, etc., it becomes a lot easier. No magic, but use the right frameworks, cultural frameworks, organizational frameworks, and be able to understand how to manage that team. Because if you're able to manage the team, which means a broader team, and being able to work with your peers and with your bosses and with the stakeholders, it makes changes a lot more easy and a lot more approachable.
Such a thoughtful answer. Like you're saying, there is no magic recipe here, and that's difficult. Difficult charter to be able to execute on, discipline and innovative. And like you're saying, there are lots of essential conditions that need to be in place, and you need to be able to act on those things, identify and act on those things in order to bring it to life. In this discipline entrepreneurship class, we were studying about the innovation needs to come with commercialization, needs to come with the disruption, most likely to the business model. There's so this interaction is so essential to be able really to convince the stakeholders that that's what we need to do. Status quo, yes, but we need to go here. We need to add that new product line. We need to, that's a new market segment. We need really to start to approach because there is a great opportunity. There is disruption. That whether or not it's coming from our side or someone else's will basically identify that opportunity. So that's definitely the challenge. We now, of course, experience ourselves such a significant experience in leadership development, leadership skills development. If there is one key takeaway that you would like other leaders, whether those are the MBAs here in Sloan or other leaders, to take from the stories, from the experiences you describe, what this one major key takeaway would be?
I think the major and the biggest takeaway for any leader is be able to look yourself in the mirror and be able to commit yourself to reinvent yourself. Leadership is not something which is static. It evolves over time. And the more you are able to do that self-reflection, that when do you need to change your approach, you will always become a better leader. So in your own ways, what you say is being able to have those skills that really define you as a leader and improve on those skills is one of the best ways you can become a better leader.
That's such a great highlight. Anything else you would like to share with our viewers from, again, your experience? Any other thoughts that you would like to share?
I think I'm very moved by the approach you are taking, because I really believe as we are riding these, we have written the internet bubble, we have now, we're on artificial intelligence bubble. As we ride through these, I think the leadership skills become even more important. And that is something that we as individuals need to hone in on, and we need to make sure that we give it to our future generations, because I think that's going to be the biggest challenge for our future generations. Being able to learn those skills and being able to execute them quite early in their career. Because it's all about connections, it's all about emotions. And more of the people start to interact just with the box, developing those skills takes even more time. And then when the crisis situation arises, if you don't have those skills, you are done. So I'm really, wishing you the best of luck. I think you are working on a big challenge that we have at our hand. So I'm looking forward to what results your company brings in. So looking forward for that.
This is great. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to for our collaboration as well and our continuous experience here at the Executive MBA program. Thank you so much, Imran.
Thank you,
my friend.
I appreciate it. Thank you.